mother's warm embrace, we are held in the hands of grace. You are held in the hands of grace, forever safe in the arms of love. Like a child receives protection from a mother's warm embrace, we are held in the hands of grace. We are held in the hands of grace, forever safe in the arms of love. Like a child receives protection from a mother's warm embrace, we are held in the hands of grace. We are held in the hands of grace.
And it is through these hands of grace that we may step into spirit that is in this place, that is in each and every one of us. So let us do just that. Take this moment to recognize that that infinite, creative energy of love, that source, is you. It is me. It is the divine intelligence that speaks through our speaker, that opens the ears and the hearts of the listener. And so we just gracefully claim that as ours, knowing that this day is already blessed and perfect. And so we just let it be. And so it is.
So it is.
Well, we are an interfaith gathering, a spiritual community that honors all teachings and all spiritual teachers. And now we begin our ceremony that celebrates this oneness of life, which acknowledges that all people and all faiths come for the one universal presence, which we call Spirit. And Anne has already beat me to it, so you see our lovely candlelighter this morning, Mrs. Fleming. Thank you. So let us begin. The Tao, honoring the universal path of harmony and equilibrium, the natural way. Shamanic traditions, honoring the beliefs and practices of all indigenous peoples, the way of pristine spirituality. Hinduism, honoring the path of knowledge, action, and devotion. Judaism, honoring the ethical path of living by sacred law. We have Buddhism, honoring the Four Noble Truths, and of course, the path of compassion. Christianity, honoring the Christ consciousness as the path of love. Islam, honoring the path of submission to the will of God as the highest calling. And us, New Thought, honoring the metaphysical path of mental healing through the practice of universal spiritual principles. And of course, our last candle is the healing candle of love. So we invite you in the stillness of your own mind to bring to awareness the names of anyone or anything that you wish to be included in this healing flame of love and light. And now that our flames of faith are fully lit, we move forward into our celebration this morning, realizing and reaffirming that all paths lead to God. Thank you, darling. I appreciate that. Okay, this is where I'm going to need everybody. I'm a little rusty, so please help me out. Been out of the business for a while. So our purpose, vision, and mission statement. Our purpose, which is, of course, our reason for being. We awaken and inspire love and oneness. Yes. And our vision, which is, what do we want to create or become? We are an empowered, uplifting, inclusive community. Thank you. Emphasis back there. I heard that, Judy. And our mission. So how are we going to create this? We teach spiritual transformation with grace and joy. I love it. Our sacred reading this morning comes from Thomas Troward, which, if you've taken any of our classes, is a legend. To get good results, we must properly understand our relation to the great impersonal power we are using. It is intelligent, and we are intelligent, and the two intelligences must cooperate. We must not fly in the face of the law by expecting it to do for us what it can only do through us. And we must therefore use our intelligence with the knowledge that it is acting as the instrument of a greater intelligence. And because we have this knowledge, we may and should cease from all anxiety as to the final result. And back to our music.
You will do amazing things with the choice each new day brings, and with every step you take, bless the progress that you make. The reason you live is found in every gift you give. Love your life, love your dreams. You will do amazing things. Amazing, amazing. You will do amazing things. Amazing, amazing. You will do amazing things. Oh, the places you will go, and the people you will know. Don't worry when or how. You don't have to know that now. On the right track. No need to look ahead or back. Just enjoy what this day brings. You will do amazing things. Amazing, amazing. You will do amazing things. Amazing, amazing. You will do amazing things. You don't have to work it out. Just stay in the here and now. Let your life rest for a little while. Sometimes deepest answers come when you're out there having fun. So close your eyes and take a breath and smile. Amazing, amazing. You will do amazing things. Amazing, amazing. You will do amazing
I don't know about you guys, but that hits me in my feels every single time. I love that song. That was beautiful. Thank you. Well, good morning and good morning. I'm practicing the camera and in live, so bear with me as I figure out that piece of the puzzle. But I'm so happy to be here, and we are, of course, the Center of Spiritual Living here in Anchorage, Alaska. And the first thing that I always love to bring up when I get this moment is we love to pray. We're trained to pray. So let us be here for you. Of course, there's still many outlets as far as going through the online and submitting prayers that way. But we've got some practitioners in the room that can also pray in person, which is really awesome because it's been a really long time since we've been able to do that like we used to. So let us pray for you. Other than that, of course, we got a few announcements up the pipeline. So we've got the Daring Greatly book club that is starting this Thursday. It's going to be taking place at 6:30 in person. I believe there will be an option to join virtually because we do want to protect that as well. So I think the requirements are the first 2 chapters need to be read going into the class. So got a little bit of homework to get you prepared, but we've got a couple of days still. So Daring Greatly. I've heard nothing but amazing things about this book. Shame on me. I've just given it out that I haven't read. So I'm like, I need to get up on that. So you might see me in the class. And then also we have our recovery courses that are taking place. Those will be actually, they've already started, living in the past here. So starting July 14th. So that's going to be taking place on Wednesdays. So we do have that available too. So before we go into our special music, we do have our minister's moment. So I'm going to invite the Rev up here and see y'all later.
The minister's moment this morning is about youth and family. We have a new national program just introduced Thursday of this week. It really looks exciting. We have new curriculum all the way from like babies all the way up to 18-year-old. And we need to know how many people are interested, and we need volunteers. We hope to have a leader for the little guys all the way up through grade school, primary education, and then a separate group for teens. And that's what we're looking at right now. But it'll depend on what kids show up, what people want to be involved, and how we're going to do it. And this is where we're really missing Zoe and Zalia. CSLalaska.org. You can contact us through our website, or you can email the office at CSLalaska.org. And let us know if you, 1, are interested and you have kids who would like to, and number 2, if you would be willing to volunteer. And we want to get our youth program up and going by the time school starts, which I think is mid-August. So we only have 2-3 weeks. Let us know. And you can also call 522-0940 and leave a message, or talk to whoever answers the phone and let us know if you're willing to volunteer or if you've got kids. And with that, we can go to special music.
That feeling of connection, that love and joy and bliss, that confidence, that warmth we feel like we can never miss. Some call it energy, some call it love, some call it spirit, I call it God. How big is your God?
Right while I'm in the middle of a moment of missing Zoe, we have to do that. Well, I can just hear her practically. Well, good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome to the Alaska Center for Spiritual Living. Whether you are here in present, it's good to see everyone here today, or whether you are online, that's great too. A beautiful, beautiful day. Thank you for joining us. Ernest Holmes, in this thing called You, wrote, "You have not been left alone to fight a losing battle or contend against the powers of evil. You have been left alone to discover your real nature. That as an individual, you may consciously unite with the law of life and the presence of good. Just keep right on knocking at the doorway of your consciousness until every no becomes a yes, every negation an affirmation, and every fear of faith. You cannot fail if you remain steadfast. Finally, the fetters of bondage will drop from you. You will walk out of your self-imposed prison only to discover that the door was never really locked and that the windows were not actually barred. You were bound merely by the chains of unbelief." Oh, excuse me. The title of my talk today is "A Wing and a Prayer." That phrase originated in World War II. There was a bomber pilot who had been hit over Germany and was limping back across enemy lines to try and land, and things did not look good. The plane was failing. He was getting additional flak. Things didn't look real good. And he said to the men in his plane, "For those of you who would consider prayer, I invite you to do so now." Well, somehow this plane limped on and made it into France and was able to land in protected territory. And that phrase, "a wing and a prayer," kind of took root. And then after the war, a movie was made by the name "A Wing and a Prayer," and it was about some young pilots who were going to fight in the Pacific Theater, and with very little training, they were put on a ship headed out into the South Pacific and were going to fight against the Japanese, well, like I say, with very little training, and it was said that they were going out there on a wing and a prayer. And the reason that I selected that as a title today is that is not what we do. We don't just throw up a prayer and hope that things are going to work out for us. We have a belief that this thing called affirmative prayer is more effective than begging, beseeching, bartering. That's a good one. "Oh God, I'll do that if you'll only do this." Different ways. We believe that an affirmative approach is more effective. But if we go back to that quote and we see that we have this opportunity in front of us to escape the bondage of pain and misery, addiction, relationships, all of the things which cause us pain and misery in our lives, and we have this way out of it. Why is there so much pain and misery in the world? Why do we have continued floods and fires and the pandemic and all of these other painful, terrible things in the world? Well, I've addressed this issue many times more than once, and there are a lot of different answers, and I think it depends on the individual which one really resonates with you. But one of the big ones is that it's all relative. That is to say, how can you enjoy peace if you don't know conflict? You know, we had this talk a few weeks ago, and I talked about, I can't remember the name of the title of the talk was, "I wish you enough." And one of the lines from that was, "I wish you enough rain so that you can appreciate the sun." And this can be put up that we can't really appreciate the wonderful things in our life until we experience not having those. Well, that's one explanation, and there can be others. The one that I'm going to look at today is kind of a new concept within our movement, and we look at consciousness, and we say that there are different kingdoms of consciousness. And at first I didn't like that idea of kingdoms so much, but it's really grown on me because I like the idea of separate kingdoms as opposed to a hierarchy where we can say, well, one level of consciousness is greater than another. Oh, well, this person has a very high level of consciousness. It's not that at all. I like this kind of the idea of kingdoms. There are three different ways of being. And one of those is to me, that things are happening in this world to me. And that is what Reverend Guy used to call the victim mode. Big scapegoat in there is the government. The government did this to me. You know, or we can have different people, but we're blaming everything out there. It all happened to me. I didn't invite this on my own. Somebody did it to me. Well, another kingdom is the the by me kingdom. And that is where we come to realize that our thoughts are creative and that this experience has happened by me. When we invite people to attend Foundations class, they get certain exercises, and many times they will do exercises and all of a sudden they will start manifesting things. And I remember when I got in, and the first thing that I manifested were short grocery lines. And I thought, whoa. And that's where I developed the now famous phrase, TSRW. This stuff really works. And we come to the realization that we can have an effect on the world, that we can, by positively affirming things in the universe, that we can affect how we experience this thing called life. Then there's another kingdom, and we call that the as-me kingdom, and that is where we recognize that it's really not us doing it, that there is a divine current in the universe that is constantly and forever expressing itself through and as each and every one of us, that we all are given an opportunity to feel this, to experience this thing called life, and that this experience is the experience of the divine that is coming through us. So it's not about you only. It's about a lot of different things. And I don't know if I've got it in here somewhere. I tried to keep it. That sacred reading Stevie had was awesome. I swear, I don't know how she does that. I think she must have attended the Linda Steiner School of how to select the sacred reading for the minister, because she just totally nailed it. She graduated magna cum laude from the Linda Steiner School. But this sentence by Troard, to get good results, and another to get the effect of life, when we to experience the wholesomeness, the joy, the thing that is life. In order to get good results, we must properly understand our relation to the great impersonal power that we are using. And that great impersonal power is that divine current. It is God. It is intelligent, and we are intelligent. And the two intelligences must cooperate. That's why we talk about co-creating things. We must not fly in the face of the law by expecting it to do for us what it can only do through us. It is not us commanding God to do something or begging God to do something or making a trade with God to do something. It is allowing that divine current to flow through us and for us to experience it. Must therefore use our intelligence with the knowledge that it is acting as the instrument of a greater intelligence, which is God. And because we should have this knowledge, we may and should cease from all anxiety as to the final result. We don't have to worry about what's going to happen, because we know that infinite intelligence, that divine creative force of the universe, the made of all of everything, is on our side. It is working with us so that it may express itself. And we are part of that. And all of the qualities of that infinite creative force are within each and every one of us, if we'll only let them out. And so it is not just on a wing and a prayer, because we have an awareness that there is something greater unfolding. So then the next logical question is, how do we go about navigating between these kingdoms? How do we switch from one to the other? And my answer is through spiritual practices. And today I'm going to talk about two of those spiritual practices. I'm going to talk about prayer, and I'm going to talk about visioning. And the reason that I selected those two practices out of the basket that we have is that I look at prayer as talking with the divine. Prayer is talking with God. Visioning, on the other hand, is listening to God. So I'm going to talk about those two. First of all, prayer, talking with God. It's not about us using our brain to affect physical change in the world. It's not about using our brain to be greater than floods or famine or any of the other things that are going on, or the pandemic or anything else. No, it's not about us using our brain to do that. Lady by the name of Patricia Diane Cota Robles wrote a book called Rising Consciousness, a shift from separation to oneness. And in there she wrote, trying to change physical conditions without changing my consciousness is like trying to change the reflection in a mirror without changing the object causing the reflection. For us to experience a different effect in life, it's important for us to step back and look at what we think and how we are creating it. Minister in Albuquerque, CSL. I have not met this lady. I'm looking forward to it. Amani Makaila. When we pray, not for an outcome we are trying to control into being, but for the purpose of allowing the divine wisdom within us to rise into our consciousness and guide our steps, we more fully realize our purpose as emanations of the One. Wow. She nailed it. When we pray, not for an outcome that we're trying to control into being, but for the purpose of allowing the divine wisdom within us to rise into our consciousness and guide our steps, we may fully realize our purpose as emanations of the One. Amani Malaika. I've got so many papers up here, I don't know. Second spiritual practice is that of visioning. So instead of talking with God, we are listening to God. And just a quick overview of visioning for those of you that are unfamiliar with it. An individual or a group can gather together and enter into the silence, empty all of the things out of your mind as best you can. Nobody's ever perfect at doing that, but of releasing everything that's going on in your mind, letting it go, and then posing a series of questions. And that typically the base question is, what is Spirit's highest ideal for, and it can be anything, Spirit's highest ideal for my life, Spirit's highest ideal for any particular project or thing that we're working on. Everything that we do in this center is grounded and founded in visioning. We vision prior to doing any endeavor. And we visioned for solstice for months before we had last winter's winter solstice. Visioning is an important part because it is in that vision that we open ourselves up and listen to the divine. It is to be to make a distinction between visioning and visualization. Visualization is an important thing itself. in prayer, spiritual mind treatment, affirmative prayer, visualization is where we visualize the outcome that we desire. If we are desiring peace, then we visualize being peaceful. If we are praying for love in our lives, we visualize being loved and giving love. It's where we come up with a mental equivalent of what we desire. And that's a wonderful thing, but it's not visioning. Visioning is where we step back and we allow that to come into us. Now, I think it's been 4 or 5 months. I'm not sure. Judy could correct me. But we started, Stevie knows because she started it, adding a new question in our Vision Core process. And we add in this question, what does it taste like, feel like, smell like? We go back to our 5 senses and we invite an additional scan of our senses. And at first I thought, well, that's what it's all about anyway, isn't it? We open that up. But I have found that it's a really good reminder to go back and have those touch points with all of our senses, because sometimes we forget that that divine current speaks to us in a lot of different ways. It is not only just through our spark of ideas or our thoughts. It can come to us in a ton of different ways. And very quickly, I found stories of showing how that divine current can come to us through our 5 senses that we normally don't think about. This first story comes from Aaron Stadel of Redfield, South Dakota. He recently moved from North Dakota to South Dakota, and he started getting this almost a craving for trout. He wanted trout. And he thought, well, this is great. I'm going to be moving to South Dakota, and they've got a lot of trout in South Dakota. So he and his wife completed their move, and they moved into their new house in South Dakota. Boy, the first weekend came and he had the opportunity. Boy, he got a new fishing pole and he got all his stuff, and he went out to this reservoir that was supposedly just filled with trout, and he put his bait out there and sat and sat and sat. He never caught a thing. But boy, he still had that hunger for trout, and he was disappointed, so he went home. I guess I wasn't meant to catch any trout. I guess I'm not going to enjoy that taste of trout. So after he and his wife were back, they went for a walk, and they went down to the local park, and just as they were coming by the local park, a man stepped out onto the path and started toward them, and this guy had this stringer of beautiful, fat, fresh caught trout. And he said, say, you wouldn't care for some fresh trout, would you? Why, yes, I would. That'd be great. He got to enjoy that taste of trout. Now, you can call this coincidence. You can call this a lot of different things. And maybe it is, and it really doesn't make any difference. But I think the lesson for me, the thing that I pulled out of that, is that he had opened himself up to an infinite display. He opened himself to any possibility. He didn't say that he had to catch the trout. He just wanted to taste the trout. And so he got to taste this new fresh trout. So taste can be one of the ways in which the divine talks to us. And in this, I think that the divine was saying that, yes, I am here for you. Yes, you can have the object of your desire, your fresh trout. A second story is told by Diane Stark of Brazil, Indiana. Diane was going through a difficult time. She had just gone through a very difficult divorce. She had to move back into her parents' house with her young daughter, and things were tough. She was not having an easy go of it, and it was really hard living with her parents again, and she was trying to juggle and keep everything going as best she could. And one day she came home from work and opened the front door, and whoo, boy, something in that house really stinks. And she thought, oh no, with everything else that's going on, I'm going to have to put up with stink in this house. I better find it and go what it is. So she started in the kitchen. She started looked in the trash. That wasn't it. Looked in the refrigerator. That wasn't it. She sniffed all around the cupboards. No, she couldn't find it anywhere. So she walked back toward the front door, and there from the closet, the front hall closet, came this odor. And she thought, whoa, this is bad. And she opened the door to the closet, and whoa, we found the source. So she dug through, and there was her daughter's backpack. From 3 weeks earlier, when she got out of school, the last day, she got home, tossed her backpack into the corner of the closet, and proceeded to go out and play for the summer. And the turkey sandwich that was in her lunch proceeded to decompose and was creating this horrible odor. So Diane picked it up and was going to put it into properly dispose of it. And as she dumped it out, she saw something in the bottom, and she picked it up. And it was a note. It was a note from her daughter's teacher. And the note said, "Dear Diane, I just want you to know that you're doing a wonderful job as a single mom. You have really stepped up, and your daughter is navigating this so well, and it's all because of you. And I just want you to know how much I appreciate you and all that you're doing." So that divine current can even use the unpleasant odor of a decayed turkey sandwich to help us and to give us confidence to step into that part of our lives. Conclusion, the one thing that I want you to take away today, and this comes from the Reverend Tammy Lambert, Rio Grande, CSL. We lean into the flow. Infinite Spirit is expressing itself as us right now in powerful, innovative ways. We trust the divine Spirit within us. We listen to it. We never give up. No matter how compelling the circumstances, we trust the truth in us. In shifting our focus, we put the world in perspective. Spirit as love, fairness, justice, equity, truth is all flowing through us as a divine revelation. Now is a time for us to listen to the voice of our vision. We are the ones that the world is calling for. Let's keep our minds stayed on this truth. And so it is with our awareness of our own inherent divinity, of that divine current that is flowing through each and every one of us, I invite my colleagues, the practitioners, to join me in holding our congregation, our city, our state, our nation, our globe in peace, in love, and light. We just simply recognize that there is indeed a power for good in the universe, and that power for good is continually and forever flowing through us. It is continually and forever expressing itself through and as each and every one of us. And so as we go through this thing called life, we just open up and allow that divine current to flow. As we experience the challenges that this life presents us, we can rise above the conditions because we know that there is a greater truth. As we face dis-ease, we know that there is a blueprint within each and every one of us that is perfect in every way. And it is that blueprint that we call forth and we embrace. As we go through life and we experience separation from our families, separation from loved ones, separation from romantic partners, separation from one another, and separation from God, we just simply step back and recognize that we are greater than separation, that this separation is a temporary thing, and that the capital T truth is that we can never be separate, because each and every one of us are children of the Most High. Each and every one of us are beloved children of God, and we can never be separate from our brothers and sisters. We can never be separate from every emanation of the Most High. We are one with the infinite. We are one with one another. And so we just give thanks. We give thanks for our awareness of the power and the presence of God. We give thanks for this thing called life. And now we just step back and we allow that divine current to flow through us on and out. And so it is.
If I wanna have more love in my life, it's time to open my heart up and let it shine. Whatever it is I truly desire is mine if I can be inspired. I've got to treat and move my feet. I've got to treat and move my feet. Nobody else can rescue me. I want to treat and move my feet. If I wanna have more joy in my life, I'm gonna keep on smiling till I feel alright. The key to success is in my hands. As soon as I understand, I've got to treat and move my feet. I've got to treat and move my feet. Nobody else can rescue me. I've got to treat and move my feet. If I wanna have more peace in my life, I need to take the time to listen to the voice inside. If I know who I am and my aim is true, the only thing I've got to do, I've got to treat and move my feet. I've got to treat and move my feet. Nobody else can rescue me. I've got to treat and move my feet. I'm so glad that it's up to me. I've got to treat and move my feet. I've got to treat and move my feet. I've got to treat and move my feet.
And now is the time in the service where we are afforded the opportunity to, oh boy, participate in another one of our spiritual practices, that being the law of circulation. I'd like to acknowledge the people who are online with us today. Keith Montgomery, Luann Pogue. Thursday night, Luann, I've got you down. Cynthia George, You too, Cynthia. Liz Clark, Joan Heidel, another one that's going to be there Thursday. Lynn Prosick, I imagine Marion's there too. Beulah from Kotlik, Michelle Moore-Jones. Welcome to all of you, and I'm sure there are many others. And I want to do a special thank you to the choir and to Aaron. How perfect it is we talk about prayer and it's you got to treat and move your feet. You know, all the praying in the world, you know, is just winging a prayer. You have to step out and do something. If you want a job, it's really, you know, handy if you apply. So, and Aaron came back from a retreat just to be with us this morning. So, thank you. All right, let's do our affirmation. Divine love through me blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. Thank you, God. And so it is. There. I left it alone.
Want to help Judy out here?
No, it's okay. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful for all that I have. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful.
How blessed are we to tap into the divine source of love, releasing the chains of unbelief, realizing that anything happening to us, in fact, is Spirit moving through us and operating as us, accepting our relation to the impersonal. We cease anxiety and surrender to the divine expression, calling forth the infinite by praying with purpose and allowing the vision of God to unfold and reveal itself. And we surrender. And so it is.
And so it is.
And our affirmation for today: I am open to infinite possibilities.
I am open to infinite possibilities.
When I treat, I move my feet.
When I treat, I move my feet.
And so it is.
And so it is.